Good morning, this is Pigsy. Today I'm just really thinking about Brexit and the impact. I think at the moment nothing's going on. There's a lot of dramatisation by the media. They keep going on about what Brexit is and demonising it, but they never really actually talk about when it's all going to get resolved, and it just gets prolonged and prolonged and prolonged. And I think the idea is prolong it to a point where they want to do like a kind of revote on it. That's what they really want to push, which is inconstitutional. It's just ridiculous, because if anything's voted for, at least it should just roll through. People don't like the result. That's sometimes what happens. And what we wanted was a bit of change, and we was losing our direction, and our economy was crumbling, and so was different countries in Europe. To a degree, it still is. I mean, the system was founded by a chap, and he had a very sort of he always had Nazi ideals about the guy. I think it had a big influence. You have to look at Nazism, and it being this kind of eugenics type utopia for some groups, and it can be applied to anything. You don't have to be not too white. It could be all sorts of things. To sort of just apply it, just take the philosophy, and as has happened throughout history, we just take it out of context and then use it. A bit like the stuff to do with Islam or other sort of religions. Even the stuff maybe with America bombing things. They'd say they have this thing about in God we trust. It's not God's works going on. It'd be great if we just left these countries alone, to be honest. And if any sort of movement was done, is built some infrastructure, have it reversed around. And the other issue about the Brexit is it's taking ages, and things like signing 9 billion or away for nuclear missiles only takes pretty much less than a week. It's just sort of very played down. You have to remember these media are controlled. They're political and government assets. It doesn't matter how far you want to get involved in a conspiracy. If you're an intelligent businessman and you wanted to say, how can I best control the world and deliver what I want, or become top dog, you would want to control the things around you that could cause you the most damage. And you'd also want to use something whereby you can push forward your agenda, and that's been happening throughout history. So it's not like this is tried and tested methods. So a lot of things are repeated, and there's some things that are not really original, really, because some of the tactics, like terrorist events, have to fall on a certain day. They tend to have very minimal damage. So looking for maximum fear, minimum damage. It's not like they wait till it's a jubilee or something with the Queen and then set a bomb off in the crowd. No, they wait for a situation whereby it's just a bland day, and it happens to fall in on the 13th or the 31st or some other day in history that's significant to people that just have occult beliefs, basically. I mean, you don't have to get too deep. Like I say, you can take a more scientific approach if you want. I mean, because someone chooses to believe in something, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a magical day. It's just that they've invested their mind into this particular thing, or it's a code in some way. Sort of like I done it, so they've tagged it. I was writing into one of my books actually with Jack the Ripper, and he's likely to have Khazarian type connections. But I'll put it this way: I think his last victim died on 9/11, I think. That's what I found out on Wikipedia. So, and the first victim was on the 31st that they died. So, the Reign of Terror, and it was something like 1888. So it's all this sort of numerology, and even if it's incorrect in some way, if they're still giving it a go, they're saying it's the way they can say, well, I've done that. Or they can just sort of spread their fear in some particular way. So, Jack the Ripper probably has some sort of Jewish heritage. There's something else I wanted to mention about the Jewish heritage, because sometimes we kind of it's very difficult because we become very polarised against them for whatever reason. Apart from if you are Jewish, or maybe you are certain other Jewish groups that you're against, and that's quite easy because there are groups like any culture. There's going to be a darker group, whether it's sort of like, whether it's people, high officials in the church, in the way they sort of took advantage of people, or you've got stuff like to do with certain rabbis and getting caught up in these sort of ritual killings and stuff like that. So there's a bloke called Finkelstein, and he's sort of waxing lyrical about that. But he says no, but he doesn't really care because nobody would believe him anyway. So he just tell you in that way, because he said he doesn't lie. So he just says, yeah, openly say this is what we do. He says we go off and drain some children of their blood. We drink the blood, add the blood into their food or whatever they do, and then the rest of it they grind up and put in a meat grinder and feed it to us schmucks. He sees that. Not that it really bothers humans that much, because we've all had cannibalistic history at some point. But going back to Jewish heritage, also a bit like me, I've got basically a bald spot here, but I was going to say that that origin of that pattern baldness is probably Ashkenazi type connection, and it's a bit like the skull cap. The skull cap wasn't designed in this sort of round circular thing for no reason. It is actually to fit a particular pattern baldness, and so everyone that have got that have that connection, and it might even raise the thing about black Jewish type groups as well, because they sometimes have this particular pattern baldness. I mean, I can't prove it, I can't say scientifically, but I was thinking about how it come about, that type of skull cap, and the actual purpose of it, and that some people don't have particular types of baldness and some do. So it all varies depending on like your family background. I mean, I can possibly trace mine back through sort of through Russia and then into the sort of the Middle East. It'd be Ashkenazi type things, and also the sort of some of the genetic profiling I got suggests this kind of thing as well. So that's quite interesting stuff. So we do have a judo heritage if you're a white person, or possibly if you're a different culture, have taken that through your sort of genetic lines. But back to the UN founder, he had this eugenics type thing in there, and he also had the elite and the rest of us would be like mongrels, and the idea was that you move everyone around, and then you basically don't have any particular genetic heritage to the area, so you'd be like a mixed race, and then you could turn around and say, well, everyone's mixed race anyway, so and they would sell it as we're all one big race, and then they would create this like what they're pushing for is some sort of state religion that would apply to across the board that they could promote. So it'd have to probably incorporate Islamic beliefs as well as Christian, or there'd be some way they can interrelate. I mean, there's no big issue with that, but just if it's created by somebody elite, they would have they might create some darker sort of their version of their own, where they're sort of exempt from it, but basically people can be killed by Sharia law if required, and this could be implemented by some courts, depending on if it goes into what they consider capital punishment, because wealth has changed and everything else. So it's like if I stole someone's pet, say, in the West, I don't think I would get my head chopped off, but I might if I stole someone's cattle in a different country. But I'll probably get my hands chopped off. So it's really, it's quite different from being a thief. So, but it's all sort of changing sort of stuff there. This is Pigsy signing out, and have a great day, and stay safe.